everybody, welcome to BrickVault. Today I have the pleasure and privilege to present to you a truly special creation. This is from the designer Dave Slater, and it's the Ultimate Collector Series DeLorean Time Machine. This is a vehicle that hardly needs an introduction. I'd say there are few things, honestly, with four wheels that are more recognizable than this outfitted DMC-12 from Back to the Future. The low frame, stainless steel veneer, and gull wing doors are some of the strange and intriguing features that first drew attention back in the 80s, while later the flux capacitor and power of flight on the big screen made it a classic piece of pop culture. When it comes to Lego models, there's hardly any that really hit the mark so incredibly well when aiming for proportions and angles, and I'm going to be showing you all the subtle features of this Lego build in the video. But before we go any further though, I'd first like to say that if you think you want to build this model for yourself, the instructions can be found at our web store. That's www.brickvault.toys. With each purchase, you get the PDF step-by-step building guide and digital parts list that can be instantly uploaded online to order all the parts that you're gonna need. The steps are easy to follow, and if you'd like to print out some extra sticker detailing, there is also a PDF available for that as well. Getting the instructions is a great way to help support us here at BrickVault, as well as the incredibly talented builders that we work with, like David here. He knocks out some amazing Ultimate Collector Series vehicles like the 1989 Batmobile and 1969 Corvette. He is steady and methodical with each of the models that he makes, and when you take a closer look, you can really see where all the extra building time has gone. Now, speaking of which, let's jump into the details of the DeLorean. Starting in the front, the headlights and bumper of the car are generally considered the face of any vehicle, and in terms of model making, I would consider them probably the most important part to get right. And if this isn't the quote-unquote right way to build the front bumper, I don't know what could be. The housing around the headlights is dark gray with a flush connection to the light gray hood and sides. These headlights remain sunken in with the dark gray flags pieces clipped on as essentially the perfect piece for this part of the car. And we made a little DMC sticker for the center to boost the details up just a hair, and when looking at a picture, I'd be hard-pressed to see a more optimal combination of pieces. Dave chose to use white as the modified bit of time-traveling mods both on the front of the bumper and the back. Even though these are almost the same color as the DeLorean, at least within universe, I think it makes more sense to have these extra additions stand out against the model a little bit more, so you can see that they really are modifications to the car and not just extra bumps that might actually belong to the sheet metal. Also, some of those modules along the side that connect the wires are built in the sandy blue. If you take a close look at the DeLorean, these areas have been depicted in dark gray or dark grayish blue, while often models and toys usually go a bit brighter with the coloration. Once again, this is a very gray vehicle, and I like that Dave kind of broke up the colors a bit, because looking at this thing from afar makes it feel just a little bit more interesting, I think, overall as a piece. And of course, I say that as we're looking at the back of the car. This is really where a lot of the more intricate details can be seen. When first putting this together, some of these pieces, some of these little detail pieces that I was staring at felt a little bit strange, like I didn't initially recognize them. And then when I started taking a closer look at some of the screenshots and rewatching bits of the movies, I realized this guy really did pore over every inch of the car and tried to make all of the small pieces here match up as accurately as possible. The futuristic license plate has been built with the grill pieces, and if you wanted to, we also just created a little sticker piece for the out-of-time license plate if you'd like to switch them out. So you can see here Mr. Fusion at the top, so I think a lot of people might call this the Back to the Future 2 car, or, you know, the car that you see at the very end of the first film. And then moving away from the smaller, more intricate details of the back, I really just do want to show you guys very subtle angles that Dave built into this car, which I personally find to be the most impressive. He managed to match up the side paneling of the door, the gull wing door, with the rest of the car. That's really quite an intricate bit of building on the inside that makes that angle work. And you can also see that the hood is angled downwards ever so slightly. It's really not that easy to see when you're first looking at it, but upon closer inspection, there is that angle downward towards the front, and it makes absolutely all the difference. Usually when people try to translate this car into Lego, they'll be using curved slope pieces, but the DeLorean is not a curved car. It is angular, it's boxy, but it also has some nice, sleek, little smooth edges. The subtle building techniques that David ended up using here are absolutely necessary in order to really get that recognizable, hard-cut look of the DMC-12. Now, I could go on about subtle building techniques and proportions, but you guys will get a pretty good look at them for the rest of the video. Let's get into the functions. So, first things first, of course, it's got gull wing doors. This is the thing that pops out to most people when they see this car, and certainly when I was a kid watching this movie for the first time. There are 3 angles built into the doors, and they're surprisingly strong. This is a part of the build that Dave actually reinforced. I think it was probably the last part that he tweaked, I think. And the final result with the way they look and the way they function, I couldn't have asked for a better build until, of course, I looked at the interior. The driver's seat has a steering wheel with a couple of lights built onto the side. You can see a handbrake. I believe there's a shifter. The seats themselves actually stud in only with a few pieces. They're a little bit delicate, but as you look towards the inside, you'll also notice that there's a lot more to the inside than just the seats, just like in the movies. Remember, this is a time machine built into a DeLorean, so of course the inside is cramped with all kinds of technology and sci-fi details. Personally, I think the front dash is my favorite part, but you guys can't see it that well, so let me just take off the roof and doors real quick so you can get a better look. Really easy to do this, by the way. It's a super strong function, but I'm just showing you guys the quick process of me taking off the roof and the windshield, and now you guys can really see everything that's going on the inside. Just like the outside with the back details, all the stuff on the inside here is very, very brightly colored. I love the build for the Flux capacitor. It's a combination of lipstick, hook pieces, and hand pieces. And then the front dash is probably still my favorite bit of detailing, and it shows you your current time, I think where you last came from and what you've programmed into your next date. Is that how it works? I remember Doc explaining it in the beginning, but ultimately, yeah, the inside of the car is just incredibly clean. It's got bright pieces in places where I think they should be, and it's also incredibly accessible. You can see it easily when lifting the doors up, and if you really wanted to take the whole thing on and off, the process for that is quite easy, so showing your friends won't be like annoying or a hassle in case you accidentally break something. You're not going to be spending a long period of time putting together a weird subtle connection again. Alright, now you might have seen some shots earlier of the car flying, but yes, of course the wheels can fold out. Dave would not have chosen these particular details for the car without including the wheel folding function. I think the DeLorean looks amazing with all 4 of the wheels bent down at the 90 degrees, and you can see a few more angles of the car a little bit lower down. The front bumper, for example, I think you can get a better look here. It does feel like a car, especially back then, a car that could actually fly through the air just because it's got such a futuristic and strange feel to it. This really is the perfect vehicle that they could have produced to turn into the first flying car ever. I've just propped it up on a few brick columns, but the entire bottom is studded, so it's very, very easy to attach this to any type of stand that you might want to make for it. And then we really do have a ton of extremely advanced, very big, very heavy Lego models in the studio, and we do not like builds that are difficult to move around or difficult to change the functions with. That can often be an aspect of a more highly detailed model that doesn't come from an official Lego set, but anything that makes it up into the web store here, we really do make sure that the function is extremely simple and easy to use. And Dave's wheel folding function here is awesome. You saw me slide 2 of the wheels down on one side, but let me just show you guys a little bit more closer up with some brighter lights. The axle is on a little Technic couple of arms that can pivot, and that axle cross piece just moves into a Technic brick hole, and that's it. You can fold the wheels just like that. They don't bow, and the whole thing rolls around without any hitches of any kind. Personally, I found that to be the most impressive of the functions. I almost assumed that David was going to have a separate sub-assembly piece where you pop one wheel out and pop in a folded wheel sub-assembly, but that's not not the case at all. You can actually fold the wheels themselves, and not only that, it's incredibly easy, looks good, and totally effective. This is the part of the video where I show you guys the vehicle moving around, how it operates in the physical world. You guys might be able to guess that, yes, this is not a play model. Of course, it is primarily built for display, but you can roll it around pretty darn easily. The DeLorean is over 2,000 pieces after all, so it's pretty darn heavy, making the ride itself, the wheels roll really smooth on a flat surface, and the ground clearance is actually pretty decent. Now, this is of course the end of the video where I show you guys just a bit of uncut handling footage of what this model feels like if you just pick it up. It's a pretty casual build. There's a few little wiry pieces that I like to avoid when picking it up on the sides and the back. The underbelly doesn't really have much to show for, and yeah, you can pretty much hold the model by any good section of it. The sides are really strong. I wouldn't put much pressure on the main part of the hood, and that's because I forgot to tell you, the hood opens up and it's actually the trunk, like a lot of sports cars usually are. You can see the cavity that can hold an extra spare tire if you so desire. It folds back into place quite easily. That is how the hood actually opens and closes on the DMC-12. And then of course the back is quite solid right behind Mr. Fusion. You can put your thumb there and swoosh the car around. Now of course that's only if you really like. It is a super heavy model, so we won't be doing that too much here. The front bumper is quite strong. All the little, even the side nodes are held on by quite a few studs. The doors stay on quite easily. They open and close pretty easily. They'll stay up on their own, which I like. Sometimes the friction isn't quite enough and they'll drop down on their own, but for the most part that function is super solid. And yeah, you can actually hold the model right by the nose, right by the bumper, as long as you're not putting too much pressure directly on the center of the hood. Now there you have it. That is the Ultimate Collector Series DeLorean built by David Slater. It's an absolutely amazing model, and we're really happy to have it here in the studio. Remember guys, if you do want to build this model for yourself, the building instructions can be found at our web store. That's www.brickvault.toys. If you want to see more custom creations from us, let us know in the comments below what types of builds you'd like to see in the future. Thanks so much for watching, everybody, and yeah, we'll see you next time at BrickVault.